Good day, viewers. Today we are going to discuss on what? The extreme mechanism, the science of speech. But here we're talking about phonetics. How do we produce sounds? All right. Now we're going to take a different dimension from the one we're used to, which happens to be the words, the examination of words entirely. In this session, we're going to take a whole new dimension. We're going to enter a whole new realm by analyzing sounds. All right, the way we speak. How do we speak? How are we supposed to accurately make a pronunciation of certain words? All right, individually, and also how do we pronounce them when they come in phrases, clauses, and even sentences, paragraphs, and so on. How we produce sounds, how we speak. All right, the accurate pronunciation. This is what we're going to look at. But how do we go by knowing these sounds? First of all, we have to start with the basics, the base, by knowing how those sounds are produced. All right, so this video, or rather this session, is going to teach us, is going to tell us from the grassroots how we produce sounds. All right, from the A level up to the Z or Z level. This is what we're going to look at. So now let's begin. You see, first of all, this is the diagram we're going to look at. All right, this is what we're going to examine, the production of sounds. You see, we have the anatomy here, but we're going to begin from this lower level. Before we begin, who dares to say that language is not scientific? Now, this is a proof that language is indeed a science. It's scientific. All right. So the first instance we're going to begin with is diaphragm. All right, diaphragm. We'll come to know about the meaning of diaphragm and what the function of diaphragm is in the production of sounds, how we speak. The second aspect is what? The lungs. All right, which is the air reservoir. It keeps the air. All right, we're going to also look at it. You see, this is the lung, and this is also another side of the lung. The third aspect is what? The trachea. All right, the trachea, which is the windpipe. This is it, the windpipe. And then we have the what? The larynx, which is the voice box. The voice box. And we have the pharynx, which is the throat, is included in it. All right. And then we have the oral cavity, which is the mouth. And then we have what? The nasal cavity, which is the nose. You see, all these aspects from number 1 all the way to number 5 aids in the production of sounds. And also number 6, which is the oral cavity. In there we have different places we produce different sounds, which is what? The place and manner of articulation. And then we have the nasal cavity, which is also the sounds that come through the nose. Let's move on. Now, the diaphragm. All right, what is a diaphragm? This is the image. All right, the diagram of the diaphragm. This is it, and this is how it looks like when you attach it to the lungs. These two are the lungs, and then the windpipe. This is the diaphragm here. All right, so from the image you can see that the diaphragm separates. It's just a layer of a layer that separates the lungs from the intestines. All right, so when you breathe in, it expands and contracts. When you breathe in, it gives more room to the lungs to contain more air, or much air in them, and then it moves down, all right, on the intestines, and then it gives more room, all right, to the lungs to contain much air in them. All right, and then when you breathe out, it comes back up, and then it helps in also pushing the air back into your mouth. So this is it. The primary function is to aid the process of respiration by contracting and expanding. When it contracts, it flattens, all right? It flattens, it goes down, all right? Which increases the volume of the what? Thoracic cavity, all right? Allowing air to be drawn into the lungs, just as I've said. And relaxation of the diaphragm, all right, for it to be relaxed and then to move back up allows for the what? Exhalation, all right, for the air to move out. Now, this is it. When you inhale, it contracts, pushes the intestines downward, and it gives more room for the lungs to contain much air. All right, good. So let's move on to the lungs. What are the lungs? These are the lungs, the air reservoir. When you inhale, when you take in air, all right, the diaphragm, as we have said, it contracts, goes down, giving more room for the lungs to contain much air in them, all right, to serve as the reservoir to store the air and then get ready, be prepared for speaking. You see, they are responsible for the way we speak. As I'm speaking now, it's the responsibility of these two lungs, all right, producing individual sounds combined together into words, into phrases, into clauses, and so on and so forth. So this is very much a kind of wonder. So this is it. Lungs are vital respiratory organs located in the chest cavity on either side of the heart, all right? Heart is located somewhere behind this place, all right? And what? They serve as what? Reservoir of the air. As you inhale, you take in air, the lungs get filled with air, all right? And then what? Prepared for speaking, all right? The moment you start speaking, is the air that is stored in these two that will be coming out and then be responsible for the sounds we utter, all right, we produce. Now, the next aspect is what? The trachea. This is it. Let's move on. So, before we move on to trachea, all right, there's a question here. The lungs gets compressed and the air gets pumped up into the trachea. So now, the question here is, does the speech production get affected if one of the lungs failed? All right? If one of the lungs fails, all right, does the speech production get affected? The answer is yes. How? Damage to a single lung can affect respiratory system, all right, the efficacy, its efficiency, all right, it gets affected. Potentially, it reduces the amount of air available for the speech, all right, but it may not result in, affecting the speech that you cannot speak. No, it doesn't do that, but it does something else. It results in what? Changes in speech patterns, such as shorter phrases. Ideally, human anatomy, human nature is, programmed by being able to have long sentences, all right, without taking a breath and so on. But when a single lung gets affected, that's when you notice people cannot, maintain that such length in speech, but they tend to have shorter phrases or difficulty in sustaining long sentences, as individuals may need to take more frequent breaths, all right? This happens when I was watching a series, Empire. It's a movie series. It's a series that talks about music, all right, musical, all right, Empire. Someone was shot, and I think he got, shot either on his left or right side, all right. So I think one of his lungs got affected. So as a result, during his therapy, when he wanted to get back to speaking properly, all right, to start singing, he could sing, but the issue was he couldn't sing the way he used to by having what? Long sentences. He was a rapper, all right? So he couldn't maintain that length, the frequency, all right? He couldn't. He had to, kind of adjust to shorter sentences, shorter phrases, all right? Taking more frequent breaths. So in that order. So this is the work of the lungs, all right, in the production of speech. Now let's move on to trachea and we see how it works. So now the trachea, which is the what? Windpipe. All right, windpipe. We saw the windpipe in the previous diagram. So this is it. These are the lungs and then the windpipe. All right, this is it without the lungs beside. All right, just the heart, the trachea. Now, what does trachea do? After the air gets pumped from the lungs, all right, which happens to be the reservoir, the air then goes through this pipe, windpipe, otherwise called the windpipe. All right, it has to go through a certain channel before it gets where the air will be kind of worked on to be turned into sounds. So this is just it, by the way, the windpipe, the trachea. All right, this is it somewhere around here. All right, trachea. Now let's move on. Then the larynx. All right, this is it, the larynx. This is it. Immediately after the trachea, then you come to what? The larynx. All right. Inside the larynx is what? The voice box, the vocal folds. This is otherwise called what? Voice box. All right, it plays a fundamental role in speech production and the regulation of airflow during breathing. All right, the larynx consists of various components, including what? The vocal cords or vocal folds. So now this is it. It's a kind of box that in it contains the vocal folds, which are responsible for either a sound to be high pitch or low pitch. All right, so we're going to look at the vocal cords now. So now the vocal cords or the vocal folds. Now these are the vocal folds, 1, 2. All right, these are the cords, and in here is the what? The trachea. This is another diagram of it. All right, here trachea, and this is the cord. This is another cord. 2 cords or 2 folds. Open, closed. Open, closed. Now, what happens when we have open or closed vocal folds? When you have the closed, all right, it gives a tendency of having higher pitch sound, like when you say e, long e sound, and different from when you say sure, like in father. The all right contains a short sound, which is the weakest sound in English language. So these two are responsible for whether a sound is high or low. Let's see the write-up. The vocal cords or vocal folds are two folded or fold-like structures, all right, located within the larynx. All right, when air from the lungs passes through the gap between these folds, passing through here, all right, here and here, all right, they vibrate, creating sound waves. All right, so the cords also let us control how high or low voice sounds. We can do this by adjusting the tension in our vocal cords. Tighter vocal cords make higher pitch sounds like E or a beat, all right, C, all right, U, all right, U sound, all right. Tighter vocal cords make higher pitch sounds, and looser ones make lower pitch sounds like as in sure, like in father, mother, brother, the. Or see, we have the open vocal cords. All right, so this is the work of the vocal folds in production of sound. The next one is the pharynx, all right? In other words, the throat. So pharynx works in such a way that it serves as a gateway, all right? Gateway. When you want to make a sound that goes, or a sound that is being produced using the mouth, all right, it serves as a gateway that it will close the gateway to the nose, all right, so that the air or the sound will come through the mouth and then the sound will be produced. And when you want to make a sound that comes through the nose, all right, the nasal sound, which will be the ma sound, the nat sound, and the engma sound, which is ng as in king, all right, the pharynx is responsible for closing the gateway of the mouth, all right, so that the air will go through the nose and then that sound will be produced in that order. So let's read on. The pharynx plays a crucial role in determining whether a sound is produced through the mouth or the nose. It acts as a gateway or valve that can direct the airflow for speech sounds. Now, for instance, when the pharynx is configured in a way that allows air to flow through the oral cavity, which is mouth, and make oral sounds that come through the mouth, then the pharynx blocks the air from going through the nose. Most of the sounds we make, including vowels and many consonants, all right, are oral sounds, sounds that are produced using the mouth. Now, when the pharynx is configured in a way that allows air to flow through the nasal cavity, which is the nose, and make nasal sounds that come through the nose, then the pharynx blocks the air from going through the mouth. The sounds include what? Ma sound, na sound, and engma sound. Usually words that end with ng, all right, or that include ng in them. So this is it. This is the work of the pharynx. Now, from pharynx, then we move on to what? The oral cavity, which is the mouth. Oral cavity. This is it, mouth. Now, here, many things are responsible in the production of a sound. Right from what? The lips, upper lip, lower lip, upper teeth, lower teeth. All right, then we have what? The alveolar ridge. Then we have the what? Palato-alveolar ridge. And then we have the uvula, which contains what? The velar sound and the what? Uvula. So and also the tongue. All these play crucial role in what? The production of a sound. So the oral cavity plays a vital role in shaping and articulating speech sounds, particularly consonants and vowels. The areas relevant to this are vowel sounds, consonant sounds, with the exception of ma, na, and engma, which belongs to the nasal cavity and places of articulation. All right. So we move on to the nasal cavity, all right, which is the nose, nasal cavity. This is it, all right, the nasal cavity. This is it. From here to here, which is the nose, also from here to here, all right, avoiding the production of sounds coming through here, mouth, but going up and coming through the nose, such as ma sound, na sound, and engma. All right, so these are the sounds that are produced using the nasal cavity. Nasal sounds or nasal consonants are speech sounds produced by allowing air to flow through the nasal passages, all right, while the oral cavity mouth is closed off. Examples of nasal sounds in English include what? The ma, the na, and engma. In these sounds, the soft palate volume, all right, is lowered, allowing the air to pass through the nasal cavity. So the back of the mouth, the back here, somewhere around here, gets closed, it gets lowered, all right, so that when it becomes low, the air, instead of coming through the mouth, then it proceeds, it goes up into the nose and produce sounds like ma as a man, nose, all right, and king. When you make those sounds, you notice, you know, a kind of vibration here, somewhere around here, all right. King, nose, all right, sounds coming through the nose. So this is it, all we have in the phonetics, the production of sounds, how sounds are produced. Now in my next video, we're going to look at what these individual sounds, all right, we're going to look at these individual sounds, and then we're going to take them bit by bit, because it's only by knowing these sounds, knowing their places of articulation, manner of articulation, and how to accurately produce these sounds, only then we will be able to know how to make proper pronunciation of words, and so on and so forth. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the doorbell, the bell. Thank you very much. Goodbye.